Black Americans are 13% of the population. They commit 55% of the violent crime.
A statistic I've heard before.
Right.
Again, I don't have the numbers to
It's fine.
counter
You could independently fact check it later. I don't anticipate you to have it off the top of your head. But why is that?
I don't have a direct answer.
I know. That's what I want you to think about it. And I'm not going to put you on the spot. Here's our answer.
This wasn't just a debate. It was a collision of two worldviews. On one side, Charlie Kirk came armed with facts, historical context, and a no excuses mindset. On the other, a college student grappling with systemic injustice, historical baggage, and modern inequality. The result? A clash so sharp it left the student rethinking his own stance.
Talking about a different topic this time. You made some interesting points. About the crime statistics in the African American community. You think crime and poverty are intrinsically linked?
Not always, but they could be directionally close to each other. For example, poor Asians are not necessarily more likely to commit crimes than a poor black person.
Okay. Do you think there's systematic functions in place that prevent African Americans from moving upward?
No, does not exist.
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think they've ever enforced any policies or any actions?
Maybe 40 or 50 years ago, but nothing in our lifetime, not even close.
I would say in our lifetime, right? Within our
That's a big deal, though,
our last
right?
20 decades, our last 2 decades, right? We've had a lot of opportunities for upper mobility, right?
And for whatever reason,
but at a systemic
hasn't
level,
worked.
At a systemic level, there's a history of prejudice within the American system against African Americans and black people.
But there's also historic systemic bias against Asian Americans and Jews. It hasn't held them back.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about them.
No,
right?
but it's important to compare. Why is it that it held blacks back but not Asians or Jews?
So I'll answer that. So Jews, well, let me speak about Asians. As a model minority, right? They've had more opportunities for upper mobility.
How?
Well, in terms of getting business loans, setting up in different neighborhoods.
Well, there was a lot more anti-Asian discrimination in California than anti-black discrimination in the 40s and 50s.
So you agree 100% that African Americans have given the same opportunities?
No, I'm not. Look,
as far as redlining goes.
Groups are sometimes treated poorly. Whether or not you're able to overcome that is the question. Number two.
So treated poorly doesn't cover it. I have a couple things. I have a couple lines right here. So we have the Tulsa Massacre of 1921, right?
Yeah,
where African Americans established a black. Well, they established a Black Wall Street, right? And that was taken down. We have the Black Panthers in San Francisco.
How does that impact you?
Well, I'm saying there's a history. I'm trying to establish a link here.
No, but I think, again, that you're trained to do this in the college. It has no bearing on whether or not you can make good decisions or not.
Well,
right?
College has no impetus on my thinking. This is organic.
I know, but I reject the whole premise. You are not a creature or a victim of what happened 104 years ago. You're your own being with your own agency, your own ability to make decisions of right or wrong.
And I agree to not subscribing to a victim mentality and taking accountability for your actions.
I don't think any of that plays into your current status.
You don't think so at all?
No.
Can you list more reasons as to why?
Yeah, the number one problem with Black America is the fact that dads are not around. Not the fact that
and that's enforced by the government.
No, it's not.
I would say on an individual basis, there's different programs that stop.
Two out of 3 black youth did not have a dad around.
Yeah, there's a crack epidemic. CIA moved crack into the hood. We went into different hoods in Los Angeles community.
Yeah, but you have to still choose to do drugs. So, like, the point is you're a victim of your choices, not your circumstances. That's what makes us conservatives different.
I think you're removing culpability from people, but I agree with the accountability and the circumstances.
We believe choices are what determine what you're in, not what's around you.
Yeah, your choices inform your environment and your outcomes. I agree with that.
Yeah.
From the very first exchange, the discussion split sharply along a familiar fault line. Is inequality today driven mainly by long-standing systemic barriers, or is it a matter of personal choices and responsibility? The student came prepared with historical examples, pointing to discriminatory housing policies like redlining, the destruction of thriving black business hubs, such as Black Wall Street, and the lasting impact of institutional hurdles. But Charlie quickly turned the conversation in a different direction, questioning why other communities that have also faced prejudice, such as certain immigrant and minority groups, have nonetheless managed to achieve significant economic and social progress over time. The clash wasn't just about who had the stronger statistics. It was a battle over which story of America's past and present would frame the truth. Both held firmly to their narrative, making the debate as much about perspective as it was about evidence.
People choose to do crack cocaine, and therefore your kids don't have a dad around. That's your own choice. If you choose to commit crimes and you're in prison, that's your own choice.
Yeah,
but no other community has had this problem. Why does Black America have this problem?
I think there's a direct a link between the prison industrial complex and incarceration.
Well, but how does one get to prison?
And the profiling African Americans.
Well, hold on. But first of all, it's not a profiling when it comes to that. Blacks are far more likely to commit crimes than any other group associated. It's like 3 to 4 times more likely. It's not even close. So how is that?
Well, I'm not here to debate numbers because I don't have the numbers.
It's okay. When you get home, you can look at it. Black Americans are 13% of the population. They commit 55% of the violent crime.
A statistic I've heard before.
Right.
And I don't have the numbers.
It's fine. You could independently fact check it later. I don't anticipate you to have it off the top of your head. But why is that?
I don't have a direct answer.
I know. That's what I want you to think about it. And I'm not going to put you on the spot. Here's our answer. It's easy and tempting to say systemic racism, redlining, right? All that. Or you could say, maybe it's because dads aren't around, because dads being with their equivalent others or spouses is not a value in the black community anymore. It's acceptable to have men impregnate women and flee. It's not a cultural expectation.
I think our cultural expectation is for African Americans to stand with their families and increase, because there's a lot of evidence that shows when 2 parents are present in a household, they have a higher chance of their children succeeding.
I agree. Then why doesn't that happen?
Upward.
So why don't black dads stay around?
I think that's a progression in our community. I think that's a progression.
So why is
I'm saying
happening?
that the reason that we're here is there's a lot of factors that led us to this point.
I don't but it's a decision that a black man can make. He's impregnated a woman, so he's not in jail. So he's like a free citizen. Why not stay with that woman and start a family?
And I'd say for the most part,
66% of the time,
we're moving in that direction.
It's getting worse, not better, actually. The single fatherhood rate is getting worse in Black America. It was 25% in 1965. It was 50% in 1980. It's 75% in certain cities now. It's beyond comprehension. It's like the worst of the industrialized world. And there's only one explanation. It's that it's not a cultural value in Black America right now.
I think we have to disagree. I think it is a cultural value moving forward, and I think it has been a cultural value. And I think post-civil rights movements, and especially during the civil rights movement, that was a major impetus. That was a major focus of the black community, and that's how we got through that movement.
You know, Black
America,
that
structure and that family.
You know, Black
unit.
America's actually gotten poorer since the Civil Rights Act.
Well, yes, I understand that. I don't have an answer for that.
It's okay. Think about it. And I'm not saying it's one or the other, but the Civil Rights Act is revered as this amazing thing. But Black America is actually poorer, more likely to commit crimes, in more poverty than it was before the Civil Rights Act. There's a lot of explanations. Thomas Sowell's written entire books about this.
And I've read on Thomas Sowell.
Good. And I want you to keep reading Thomas Sowell because he'll push your boundaries and he's phenomenal.
By the close of the exchange, the tone took an unexpected turn. The student, visibly unsettled yet composed, acknowledged that he might not have the full picture. He admitted he would take the time to research the numbers more thoroughly and revisit the issue with a better grasp of the facts. His response carried a tone of respect and genuine curiosity, a willingness to pause, reconsider, and learn, rather than simply doubling down. In the often combative world of public debates, where exchanges can resemble a shouting match more than a search for truth, moments of real reflection like this are surprisingly rare. It felt less like a political standoff and more like the first step toward understanding.
Our belief system. The most important thing is dads in the home. If you do not have 2 parents around, everything falls apart. It's not about government checks or welfare. It's the nuclear family. The nuclear family is a guarantor more than anything else that a kid is going to.
And I 100% agree with that.
Right. So we have to figure out then, it's a riddle. I think I know the answer. Why so many black youth do not have dads around.
I personally think the answer is more convoluted than that. I think it's a bit muddled. I think going forward, there's going to be an upward progression in that area. I have to look at the numbers, and I'll come back to you with some better statistics.
No worries. Thank you very much. Thanks for your good-hearted question. Thank you.
From the start, this exchange zeroed in on one of the oldest arguments in public discourse. How much control do we truly have over our own lives, and how much is shaped by forces beyond our reach? Charlie Kirk made his position clear early on. Personal responsibility is the deciding factor, and cultural choices weigh heavier than any systemic disadvantage. His message was direct. Family breakdown, more than flawed systems, is the central barrier holding black Americans back. To drive it home, he leaned on one of his most cited figures, that 2/3 of black youth are raised without a father, connecting that to higher rates of crime, poverty, and other challenges in adulthood. The student, however, approached the issue from a wider angle. He brought history into the spotlight, mentioning discriminatory housing practices, such as redlining, the destruction of prosperous black business districts like Black Wall Street, and even allegations of institutional sabotage, including claims of government involvement in flooding inner cities with drugs. His framework relied heavily on the impact of historical trauma and structural inequality. Still, his argument stumbled when it came to tying these historical examples directly to current realities in a way that couldn't be challenged. That gap gave Kirk an opening to repeatedly frame these points as diversions from what he sees as the real discussion. Individual decision-making that Kirk's most forceful move was comparative. He asked why other communities that also face prejudice, such as certain Asian American and Jewish groups, have nonetheless reached high levels of success in the United States. His underlying suggestion was that if others have managed to overcome discrimination, systemic barriers cannot be the primary explanation. From a rhetorical standpoint, this was sharp, but it risked oversimplification. Not every form of discrimination works in the same way. For example, many Asian immigrants arrive with intact families, higher education, and strong traditions of entrepreneurship. Black Americans, by contrast, often inherit the weight of generational poverty, decades of segregation, and cycles of political neglect. Comparing these paths without considering context is like judging two runners without noticing that one started several meters behind the other. Even so, Kirk largely dictated the pace of the conversation. He returned again and again to the same pillars: agency, family, and accountability. When the student raised issues like the crack epidemic and mass incarceration, Kirk countered by asking a pointed question: who forced people to do drugs? In his view, systems can present temptations, but only individuals can make the choice to act. However, Kirk left one potential strength unused. He could have improved his argument by acknowledging that certain government policies, such as aspects of the Great Society programs in the 1960s, unintentionally contributed to weakening the black family structure by financially incentivizing single-parent households. Even the video's own host admitted that this was a blind spot. By refusing to concede any ground, Kirk missed the chance to appear more balanced. Though it didn't seem to cost him the debate in the moment, the student, meanwhile, demonstrated a rare quality in heated exchanges: humility. He didn't invent statistics or resort to shouting. Instead, he admitted, "I don't have the numbers, but I'll look into them." That's not a defeat, that's intellectual honesty. Sometimes, the most meaningful result of a debate isn't a quick victory, but planting a seed for further reflection at BYVN. You could see him genuinely thinking through what was said, perhaps even reconsidering parts of his own perspective. In an era when public discussions often devolve into shouting matches and echo chambers, moments of open-mindedness like this stand out. The deeper takeaway here goes beyond which side won. This was, at its heart, another chapter in the ongoing culture versus system debate. Kirk draws a firm boundary: culture determines destiny. Yet that view can leave out the fact that systems themselves often shape culture. If government policies reward fatherless homes, if harmful substances are allowed to flood struggling neighborhoods, if prison economies are built around mass incarceration, those are structural choices that ripple into cultural outcomes. The truth is, it's not a simple either-or equation. It's both, and untangling the threads requires holding people accountable without ignoring the historical and structural factors at play. Ultimately, the debate wasn't just about numbers or policy. It was about identity, dignity, and the way we frame responsibility. Kirk wants individuals to reject the victim mindset and own their decisions. The student wants acknowledgement that those decisions are often shaped by environments and histories they did not choose. Both have elements of truth. The real power of this exchange wasn't in who delivered the sharper rebuttal. It was in the conversation itself that SO. Who came out on top? If you value quick statistics and confident delivery, Kirk had the edge. If you value a willingness to listen and reevaluate, the student made his mark. But maybe the real victory was that one young man walked away thinking harder than he did before. And in today's climate, that's something you don't see often.